All but one of our professional events have now been cleared. And if you're asking me what I plan on doing about the GT World Championship, well, we're not going to get round to that until a bit later on, when I have some prototypes in my garage. But before then, however, we are now going to get on with the first of our regional events, which, for want of a better phrase, is going to be the American event that we start off with. And as for the car I will start with, well, I'm going to use this. The Ford Mustang Cobra, because, well, I figured I bought this car a while ago, and also because, well, I figured if I was really going to be seeing myself entering America, then I might as well embody the American spirit by bringing out the Mustang I bought. And before we continue, because this is a used car, I'm going to change the oil, because I'd imagine the oil is worn. Yep, just as I thought. So I was on 331 before, and I don't really think I'm going to need very much tuning on this thing. I would say we're going to be fine as it is, from what I know, because, well, the Mustang, for our first American event, it is one of the most competitive cars we can use. And I figure I might as well take that as a sign. So we're gonna head straight up to the American events and, well, let's go. As we begin with the muscle car competition. I think we should be fine from what I know. I don't think we're really gonna need any tuning for this, as we're heading over to 3 American-based courses, as you might have guessed. So we're heading to New York Reverse, Laguna Seca, and El Capitan to finish off. So, without further ado, let's begin in the reverse streets of Manhattan. And we are starting this off with a Shelby Series 1, a Chevrolet Camaro SS, a Dodge SRT4, a Dodge Ram 1500, and a Ford SVT F-150 Lightning. And before we get on with the race itself, let's take off most of our assists, except for the traction control. Because, well, this is a muscle car, and because, well, like with most muscle cars, especially supercharged muscle cars, traction control is needed in the name of stability. So, without further ado, let's go. And looks like it's going to be an easy one, as we'll only score 9 points. So this is probably going to be a cakewalk, the way I see things. It's also because, well, technically speaking, this Mustang is supercharged. So I think it should be relatively easy. I don't think we're going to have too many problems. Just got to clear these 2 trucks, and cleared the Ram 1500 now. I think my only real opponent in this is going to be the Shelby that is running up front. Now all that's left is a Dodge SRT4, which I clear with relative ease. Now I just have to figure out how to clear Mr. Camaro. And up the inside, probably went a little too deep there on the curbs, but able to at least maintain my car in good condition. And I'm convinced in saying we're not going to need to do any tuning to this thing at all. I'm strongly convinced in saying this is going to be an easy win by the time I take the lead. So, back up into Times Square, and now heading back up Broadway. I kind of figured if anyone in this event was going to be my main challenger, then it would obviously be the Shelby. There's a 3-second gap up front. I don't think it's going to take me too long to catch up to him. I just need to make sure I do not overshoot these corners. Okay, so we're going good at the moment, and hopefully I will be successful in catching him. He's pulling away just a little bit, but I have established I am a little bit stronger through the corners. The corners do appear to be where I am stronger than the Shelby. He's faster than me on the straights, but I'm quicker through the corners. I am closing in. I'm really getting the power down now with this 340 horsepowered V8 motor. And hopefully, if it's possible, I can motor right on by the Shelby. Since ironically, the Shelby is also supercharged. I did think about using the Mustang for Stars and Stripes, but I figure it's probably easier if I use something else because, well, I really don't want to have to spend my money in a first event that's going to be relatively easy, and around the outside tries to force me to the outside, but I do manage to get the maneuver done, and just like that, I am now at the front. And our battle is not finished yet, because as I said before, the Shelby is faster than me in a straight line, but I do have the advantage in the corners, because I have more freedom to move in the car, compared to if I would have had the... compared of course to if I would have had the active steering management. Which in my opinion is not really needed. But anyway, back up through these right-handers and through the Brooklyn Plaza Hotel we go. And looks as though we're more or less going to be cruising our way to Broadway through these corners. Kind of figured if there was going to be any race where I would be challenged, then this would surely be the one. And by the way, that sound effect you can hear in the background is, well, the supercharger, if you're asking. But either way, I very much look to be in position to secure this one. So, through these last two right-handers, and now heading back up Times Square through Broadway, and it looks like we've got this one secured. The Shelby is closing in, but I don't think he's going to get to me in time. I win race 1 by less than a second. Gotta say, that was a pretty competitive race. And what do you know, the Fords finish in first and last place. And the Dodge finished as well. Not bad. and we're up to 366 horsepower in this thing. So I think it's fair to say that the oil change I made, it definitely helped me. Okay, now we head on to race 2 at Laguna Seca. I think things just got more interesting. But anyway, after winning what was more or less a thrilling battle with the Shelby Series 1, we, in this race, have now got 2 Dodges, 1 Callaway, and 3 Fords, as we have a Dodge Viper, a Callaway C12, Ford Mustang GT, in other words the newer model, Ford F-150, and a Dodge Ram 1500. Okay, let's go. I should also mention... oh, we get less points this time. Well, I don't think it's gonna wind up being quite as much of a thriller as what New York gave us. But again, I was faster through the corners, and that was what propelled me to winning in New York in the end. And I think it's fair to say that here, on the shores of California, I think this one is going to be more or less a similar outcome to what we had in New York, as I am 4.444 seconds behind the Dodge. Although I'm pretty convinced in saying that we should be fine. Also, I gained at least 30 horsepower as a result of me doing that oil change. So I think it's fair to say the oil change was absolutely needed, if this car was actually going to do anything. But either way, trying to look for a way past the very stylish C12. I go straight down the inside, and 3.7 seconds is now the gap to the Viper. I think I am going to close up on that because, well, Laguna Seca is not as reliant on the straights as it is in the corners, unlike New York. And I'm pretty convinced in saying this is going to be a pretty easy win for me by the time we get to the end of this one. So 1.4 seconds is now the gap. And the only real question I have is, how long is it going to be before I do get to the front? So less than a second is now the gap as we're heading up the Rahal Straight. And now coming down into Corkscrew. And making sure that I time my passing manoeuvre correctly. And heading through Rainy Curve. And now we just have to focus on these last 2 corners. He's gone wide. That gives me the advantage, and the Ford Mustang Snack takes the lead. And it took me up until the end of lap 2 to officially get it done. And now all that's left for me to do is to pretty much just go out and put together my race-winning run accordingly. As we head through the Andretti hairpin and now through, I think that's turn 3, under the Bridgestone tyre bridge, and now heading through turn 4, down this long backstretch, I think this is. And I'm pretty much well clear of the Viper by now, because of the advantage my car has in the corners. And 2.8 seconds is now the gap. So it looks as though this is going to be a pretty easy win for me, as we head through the corkscrew now for the last time, and down through Rainy Curve. And now we just have 2 corners left. So 3.2 seconds is now the gap, and up to this point I highly doubt I'm losing this race. And there we go. 7 points and a fairly secured win in my opinion, by 4.4 seconds over the Dodge, and the C12 finishes less than 11.8 seconds behind. That actually felt pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Even though I still haven't recorded my replays from yesterday, but I'll get round to that. I might have to delete some replays in a bit. But you know what? I think just because we're at Laguna Seca, and well, because I don't really think I'm going to get that many useful shots at El Capitan, I figured I might as well save it here at Laguna Seca. Yeah, the replays are here, they're just saving at the bottom for some reason. Might just be because of the lack of storage I have in my memory card, or whatever it is. I don't know what the issue is. Anyway, replay is saved. Let's just get the fuck out of here and move on to race 3. Alright, final race of the muscle car competition. And once again, up front, we have the Shelby Series 1, the Callaway C12. We've also got 2 Dodges in this race, with both the Dodge Ram 1500 and the Dodge Viper SRT10. Got the F-150, which is obviously a Ford, and of course there is me at the back. So 1 Shelby, 1 Callaway, 2 Dodges, and 2 Fords. Here's what makes up the starting order here at El Capitan. And because this is a grid start, as I would have expected, already moving up 2 spots, that's not too surprising. And around the outside of the Viper, I think because we're not on the streets of Manhattan, this is going to be relatively easy, compared of course to the battle I had before with the Shelby. We're both obviously driving cars that are supercharged, so I believe we should be fine. Getting a little bit loose over the crust, but I think we should be okay. I am of course using my chase cam view for once because, well, I want to. and we are doing good. As I would have expected, because of the amount of corners that El Capitan has. I figured it was going to be relatively easy for me to take over the lead, as I did. A little bit of oversteer there off the corner exit, but I think at this stage this one is going to be easy. Judging of course by prior experience, which may have occurred here once before. But I am convinced in saying this is going to be a pretty easy win for me, as the first time I set is a 2:15, and I'm already 3 seconds clear of the Shelby, so I think that very much means this is going to be a pretty easy win for me. As I might have guessed. But anyway. So we're up at the front, and this race is more or less going the way I would have expected it to. Most of the time the AI don't really tend to put up much of a fight here at El Capitan. But either way, I honestly wouldn't have expected this one to really be all that exciting. I kind of figured once I chose the Mustang for this it was going to be a pretty easy win for me. Plus, since I already used the Silverado in the pro events, well, I just figured it was easier for me to open this up with the Mustang. Also because, well, I really don't feel like spending my money early on in the regional events. At least not to start with anyway, because I already did that well before coming into this. And I now set a 2-minute time. I'm pretty sure no one is going to make it to the line before the fade unless I have a spin. And 13 seconds up. Yeah, unless I have a spin at this point, probably no one is going to make it to the line before the fade. Which I don't think is going to happen. Went a little bit wide there, but able to at least hold my ground. And should be okay. Getting a little bit loose there, but able to hold on to it as I go over the crest. And the Viper has now taken over second. However, because the AI are not typically strong around here, he probably won't catch me before the end of this race, even if I do go for a spin. And in saying that, I do go for a spin. Well, not really much of a spin, but enough of a spin. But either way, it doesn't really matter because, well, I know my car is superior to the AI here. Just got caught up in the gravel and then it basically just, well, took off in the gravel. Yeah, mistakes are made. It's fine. I did have a large enough lead to still hold on anyway, so it's not like I'm in any real danger of losing the lead here. But I am glad to say that New York did manage to give us a compelling race with the Shelby early on. I think if the Viper was there, I might not have won that first race the way I did. But either way, it doesn't matter because, well, it's an easy win. And, hey! The other muscle car's finished. And as you might have guessed, of course, the trucks obviously didn't. But that's okay, because another 3 grand is ours, and we are now 9 grand richer. I don't think the thumbnail shots I would have got here at El Capitan would have really made much of a difference in terms of my angles. But there we are. So, 6.6 second margin of victory over the Dodge Viper SRT10. Then the Shelby Series 1 finished 3rd, the Callaway C12 4th, followed by the Ford F-150 in 5th. Ironically a truck I used before. And at the back it was the Dodge Ram 1500 Laramie Hemi. Okay, let's move on now. At the back it was the Dodge Ram 1500 Laramie Hemi. So what are we going to get for our first American event? We get... oh, hello. We get the Chevy Chevelle. I think that might have just provided me the answer over what car we'll be using for our next event. Quote unquote. I actually like how this thing is in silver with black stripes. I think it actually looks really cool. I might actually consider switching over to that thing for our next event. Especially since it is, well, you know, a Chevy. There we go. That's our first American event done. And next up will be the old muscle car competition. Races that are held between American cars. Okay. And as a result, we have gained another 0.5% of progress, moving our total up to 24.4%. And in the end, I gained a total of 35 horsepower as a result of me changing the oil. And that's now moved me up to 654 miles driven and 120 wins. Now let's see if we can find our Chevelle. Here it is. Our 1970 Chevy Chevelle SS 454 in Cortez Silver Metallic. And we can sell this thing for 14 grand if we really wanted to. However, I'm not going to do that because, well, as you can see, it's old school American muscle, baby. And that's why I'm keeping hold of it. Because I can. Okay, anyway. There we go. In fact, it's so good, I'm going to switch over to this thing now. And then after this, we can get on with our next event, the old muscle car competition, which is what we will be doing next.